Hey, it's Mark Lanier with your video thought for the day. Okay, it's February. We've got some of the most bizarre weather we've ever seen in the winter, at least in Houston. We've also got that coming in the midst of February, which is Black History Month, relevant to my thought for the day, and coming on the heels of the most bizarre year health-wise for the world that's been around in my lifetime. So you put these bizarre episodes one right after another, and it's prime for the verse that I'm looking at this week in the video thoughts for the day. It's what I call a chain verse. It's different links to a chain that Paul put in the 5th chapter of his letter to the Romans. And so we started out the first link of the chain Monday, where Paul says we can rejoice in suffering because suffering produces endurance. And that was the word we looked at yesterday. So Monday was suffering, thlipsis. You can find the links and watch it down below if you haven't. Yesterday was endurance, hupomoneo, or hupo, yeah, it's something like that. It comes from hupomone. Endurance is a link from yesterday. You can find that. But suffering produces endurance. And then today, endurance, Paul says, next link in the chain, produces character. Now, why do I say this has something to do with the weather and the health of the world and Black History Month? Let me explain. If anything happened in 2020 and rolling into 2021, it's been the presence of suffering. So many people in so many different ways have suffered in ways that they never imagined. But that suffering, Paul says, to the believer who puts their lives in the hands of God, to believers who put their lives in the hands of God, that suffering produces an endurance, an ability to keep going, an ability to do things that you wouldn't be able to do otherwise because of the confidence you've got and the security you've got in the God who presides over anything that's happening to you, suffering, tribulation, you name it. And so Monday we looked at suffering. Tuesday, we looked at the endurance it produces. And today is the third element that's produced, and that's the element of character. Paul says the suffering produces endurance, which produces character. Now, that's a really good thing. Paul's idea of character here is not like, oh, he's a real character, wink, wink, nod, nod, like he's a joke or something like that. Paul's idea of character is someone who authentically is a person of substance, a person of gravitas. It's the kind of person you look to when things are serious and you need help. It's the kind of person you can rely on. It's the kind of person we want to be. And so it comes at a unique time for us because as we endure suffering, whether it's from health, whether it's from weather, or whatever it may be, and that suffering is put into the hands of God, we know that that suffering can produce endurance in us, and it will. And that endurance over time develops character. Now, what does that have to do with Black History Month? Well, let me explain it this way. One of the things that I've done this year for Black History Month is I've tried to increase my awareness of Black history, not just on a big picture historical level, but I've wanted to increase my awareness on a personal level. And so I've got a number of friends that I felt very comfortable saying, okay, you grew up, you're African American, you grew up very differently than I did in some ways, culturally and experientially. Would you give me some personal Black history lessons? And one person in particular has just really blessed my socks off by emailing me every day at my request with just personal stories of what it was like to grow up in America. And this person is the same age that I am, graduated from high school the same year I did. And it's been really interesting to read comments and stories and one right after another of how her mother used to clean the house of a wealthy woman on weekends for extra income. And my friend would go with her mother and would sit in just a corner and play. And the wealthy woman would come over and rub her head because she had African American hair, which has a different feel, I guess, to it or something, and just rub her head like in a patronizing way, kind of like, I don't know. But it just story after story of different treatment because of race here in America. And this morning it was yesterday morning, I received an email where she told the story about one of her teachers in high school who didn't care much for her skin color and shouted out in a math class, "I hate you," da 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 da, and really sent this woman, what would have sent almost anybody into a tailspin, sent in this woman an ability to develop character. Because this woman learned to take everything to God. And it took time to walk in that relationship with God, but she has seen God use event after event of suffering and endurance to produce in her a character that is amazing. It's a character that loves God and follows God and is reliable and has made her a dear friend and mentor to many. So it's been long today, and I'm sorry about that, but this is an important thought for the day. Know that suffering that produces endurance will produce character. And I'll talk about the hope that gives us tomorrow. That's your video thought for the day.